the North American continent, and the entire world are all entering a period of increased water tension. That an area of the world that is so rich in water resources has become such a hotbed of water controversy. And yet we're going to see more and more of this kind of water conflict in water-rich regions of the world, and particularly water-scarce regions of the world. We've left the century of oil. We're entering the century of water, and for the next 100 years and beyond, it's going to be all about water. This was a brutal document to negotiate. You've got 8 states, you've got 2 provinces, you've got 2 federal governments, you've got a globally significant water body, and trying to get all those different parties to agree on a system to manage this international boundary water that's fraught with 100 years of controversy was extremely difficult. Multi-year process, which is why they put it off so long until the NOVA proposal came through. The Great Lakes Water Compact is one of the most significant pieces of legislation to affect Great Lakes water policy ever. We're talking about 18% of all the fresh surface water on the face of the planet. And so here you have this globally significant body of water and this legal water paper tiger protecting it for 2 decades. And finally, the controversies over Great Lakes water diversion became so acute that the regional leadership came together and said, look, this is a globally significant resource with a woefully inadequate legal mechanism to protect the waters from water diversions. And so therefore they sat down in this multi-year process to create the Great Lakes Compact, thereby enveloping the Great Lakes Basin on both sides of the international border in the same rules and regulations designed to keep the Great Lakes water inside the Great Lakes Basin with very, very limited exceptions. Notice how extraordinarily wide the basin line is on the north side of the lakes and how incredibly narrow the watershed line is from the lakeshore line here in southeastern Wisconsin, northeastern Illinois. These areas where the watershed line is close to the lakeshore line tend to be the front line in the Great Lakes water war, the area where water supply tensions are highest. There is a belief in the Great Lakes region that the Great Lakes Water Management Compact could be a role model document for future environmental policy and decision making. It took them a long time. It took many, many years for them to formulate this process, but they did formulate a process. And what's truly unique about the Great Lakes Compact, as opposed to many other water management compacts, particularly the Colorado River Compact, which is so controversial, is that under the Great Lakes Water Management Compact, the environment had a seat at the table. The environment had a voice. The water wasn't just for humans. The water was also for the environment, and that the idea was to construct a legal mechanism that would allow industry and the environment and society to use the waters of the Great Lakes Basin in a sustainable way that provided for sustainable economic development without all the ecological drawbacks and problems that we've had so often in the past, particularly with water bodies in North America and throughout the world. The decision makers who were involved in drafting the Great Lakes Water Management Compact and then pushing it through 8 legislatures in the U.S. And then ultimately Congress regularly used my book as a way to help decision makers get a briefing on the topic at hand. It was seen and continues to be seen as a non-biased, authoritative, comprehensive analysis of the water management issue in the Great Lakes region, and as well as telling the story of why the Water Compact was drawn up, why it was needed, and where it planned to take water management in the Great Lakes Basin in the future. As a journalist writing a book that was not advocacy, that it was straight journalism, it actually had credibility in all corners of the debate. And so I had environmental advocates tell me this is one of the most important tools that we've ever had. And I also had water diversion applicants who are the other side of the equation in many cases with the environmental community say, this has been the most important book that we could have ever had. And so, and also George Cooper with the Council of Great Lakes Industries sent a copy of the book to all of the members of his board of directors. And so we've got feedback from the water protectors, you've got feedback from the water users, and the feedback from the industrial sector, all quite positive. And again, it shows that you've got this issue that's so emotional, and yet no one had ever written a book about it. There was a lot of hunger for some sort of credible, comprehensive resource that, that everyone could refer to, rely on, and use as a reference. You know, I decided to publish with Island Press. I mean, I looked at a lot of publishers, but the more I looked around, the more I realized that no one had published more books on water than Island Press had. And in fact, many of the sources that I use for my overview chapters looking at water issues were in fact authors who had been published by Island Press. And so in the end, being able to work with an editorial staff that had so much experience publishing books about water was very attractive to me. And frankly, the fact that it was a smaller, more nimble press that had a reputation for producing books quickly, when I was working on a book that really, from a book world perspective, was a deadline book, it was also attractive to me to work with a publisher that could turn the book around quite quickly and get it out so that it could influence and educate people while they were deciding whether or not to take this major new step forward in Great Lakes water management.